The shuttle landed on Verath 9 with a thud that rattled Danny Cooper's teeth. He grabbed his equipment bag and stepped out onto the dusty red ground. The planet looked dead. Nothing but ruins and rocks stretched out in every direction under two small suns. Danny had been working as an archaeologist for the Interstellar Heritage Foundation for 3 years now. Most of that time was spent cataloging things that other people had already found. This job was supposed to be the same. Just write down what was already written down 100 times before. Easy work. Boring work. A tall alien with blue scales and 4 arms approached him. Kolthar was the site supervisor. He was a Vrexian, and like most Vrexians, he made it clear that he thought humans were too new to the galaxy to know much about anything. "You are the human they sent," Kolthar said. It was not a question. His voice sounded like gravel in a bucket. "Danny Cooper. Good to meet you," Danny said, reaching out his hand. Kolthar looked at the hand but did not take it. Instead, he turned and started walking toward the ruins. "Follow. I will show you what needs to be recorded. Do not touch anything that is not on the list. Do not wander. The ruins have been fully documented. We are only here to verify the old records." Danny followed, pulling his bag along the rocky ground. 3 other aliens were working near the largest structure. They were Zenthi, short beings with 6 legs and shells on their backs. They barely looked up when Danny passed. The ruins were impressive even if they were old news. Huge stone walls rose up from the ground, covered in symbols that nobody could read anymore. The Verath civilization had vanished 3,000 years ago. One day they were here, the next day they were gone. No bodies, no signs of war, just empty buildings and unanswered questions. For 2 weeks, Danny did exactly what he was told. He measured walls, he took pictures, he wrote down serial numbers from artifacts that had been sitting in the same spots for centuries. It was mind-numbing work, but it paid his bills. On his 15th day, Danny was assigned to catalog Chamber 17. According to the records, it had been cleared and documented 40 years ago. Nothing interesting, just some stone benches and decorative architecture. Danny stepped inside with his tablet. The chamber was round, maybe 20 meters across. The walls had faded paintings of creatures that looked like dragons. In the center of the room stood a large object covered in centuries of dust and corrosion. He checked his tablet. The object was listed as ornamental structure, possibly ceremonial. Composition: unknown metallic alloy. Height: 3.2 meters. Cultural significance: minimal. Danny walked around it slowly. It was shaped like an egg standing on its narrow end. The surface was rough with age, but underneath the grime he could see faint patterns. He knelt down and brushed away some of the dust near the base. His breath caught. The patterns were not random. They were crystalline structures, perfectly geometric. They did not look decorative. They looked functional. He spent the next hour carefully cleaning a small section. The more he uncovered, the more certain he became. This was not a statue. This was something else. That evening, Danny approached Kolthar during the meal break. "I need to talk to you about Chamber 17. Kolthar did not look up from his food. "What about it?" "The large object in the center. I think it might be more than just decoration." Now Kolthar looked at him. His eyes were cold. "That object has been examined by experts far more qualified than you. It is listed as cleared. Are you suggesting that dozens of professional xenoarchaeologists missed something, but you, in one afternoon, discovered what they could not?" Danny felt his face get hot. "I just think the patterns on the surface look functional, not decorative. Maybe if we ran some new scans." "No." Kolthar's voice was sharp. "We are here to verify existing record, not to waste time and resources chasing human intuition. You will move on to Chamber 18 tomorrow. Do not mention this again." Danny wanted to argue, but he could see it was pointless. He nodded and walked away. That night, he could not sleep. He kept thinking about the egg, about the patterns, about the way the official report seemed too quick to dismiss it. The next day, he was supposed to work in Chamber 18. But during his lunch break, when everyone else went back to the main camp, Danny slipped into Chamber 17 instead. He brought his cleaning supplies and a portable light. He set up in front of the egg and started working on another section of the surface. As he cleaned, he talked. It was a habit he had developed working alone on dig sites. "My name is Danny Cooper. I am from Earth. I know you are probably just a big piece of metal, but you are the most interesting thing I have found in months, so you are going to hear my life story whether you like it or not." He scrubbed at a particularly stubborn patch of corrosion. "I became an archaeologist because my grandfather used to tell me stories about ancient Earth civilizations. He said the past has things to teach us if we know how to listen. I think he would have liked this place. All these mysteries." Danny worked for over an hour, uncovering more of the crystalline patterns. They seemed to flow across the surface like rivers, all leading toward the top of the egg. "I wish I knew what you were for," Danny said quietly. "I wish you could tell me about the people who made you. Were they scared when they left? Did they hope someone would find this place someday?" That was when he heard it. A voice in his head. Weak, tired, surprised. "You can hear me? After so long, a human?" Danny jumped back so fast he knocked over his light. His heart hammered in his chest. He looked around the chamber. Empty. He was completely alone. "Hello?" he whispered. "Please," the voice said. It was barely there, like someone speaking from far away. "Please, I am not imagining this. You can hear me. A human can hear me." Danny's hands shook as he stepped closer to the egg. "Who are you? Where are you?" "Inside," the voice said. "I am inside. I have been waiting so long. Everyone who came before, they walked past. They could not hear. But you hear me." Danny placed his palm flat against the metal surface. It was warm. "You are alive?" "Barely," the voice replied. "My name is Kyrathis. I am Varath. I am the last of my kind. And you, human, are the first being in 3,000 years who knows I am here." Danny sat down hard on the stone floor. His legs suddenly felt like water. A voice in his head. A living being trapped inside this metal egg for 3,000 years. It was impossible. It had to be impossible. "Are you still there?" the voice asked. Kyrathis sounded afraid, like Danny might disappear. "I am here," Danny said out loud. Then he thought the words instead, not sure how this telepathy thing worked. "I am still here. I am just trying to understand. You have been inside this thing for 3,000 years?" "Yes." Even in his mind, Danny could hear the exhaustion in that single word. "My people, the Varath, we faced a plague, a terrible sickness that killed us faster than we could find a cure. Our scientists built these chambers, stasis pods. We went to sleep, and the pods were supposed to wake us when the air was safe again." Danny looked at the egg with new eyes. Not an artifact, a bed, a hospital room, a desperate attempt to survive. "What went wrong?" Danny asked. "The sensors failed," Kyrathis said. "I do not know when, perhaps 100 years after we slept, perhaps 1,000. But they failed, and we did not wake. I have been aware for a long time now, aware but unable to move, unable to speak. I could feel people walking through these chambers. I screamed with my mind, but no one heard me. Your people, the other species, your brain patterns are different from ours. Only the Varath could hear each other, or so I thought." "But you can talk to me," Danny said. "Yes, humans have something similar to our neural patterns. Not the same, but close enough. You are the first human to come near me, the first person in thousands of years who could possibly hear me." Kyrathis paused. "I heard you talking, about your grandfather, about listening to the past. I took a chance. I used almost all my remaining strength to reach out, and you heard me." Danny felt tears on his cheeks. He wiped them away quickly. "How much strength do you have left?" The silence lasted too long. "Not much. The chamber is failing. 2 weeks, perhaps, maybe less." 2 weeks. Danny stood up fast. "Then we need to get you out. We need to tell the others. They can bring equipment. They can open the chamber safely." "Will they believe you?" Kyrathis asked quietly. Danny thought about Kolthar, about being told not to waste time. about being treated like he did not know anything. I will make them believe. But making them believe turned out to be much harder than Danny hoped. He went straight to Kolthar that evening. He explained everything as clearly as he could. The voice, the stasis chamber, the Varath survivor who needed help. Kolthar stared at him for a long moment. Then he stood up. You are suffering from isolation stress. It happens to humans sometimes. Your minds are not built for long periods alone. I am arranging for you to return to Earth on the next supply ship. I am not imagining this, Danny said. His voice came out too loud. The Zenthi workers looked over from their stations. There is someone alive in that chamber. We need to help him. Enough. Kolthar's voice was ice. I have been patient with you, human. But if you continue to disrupt this mission with fantasies, I will have you removed immediately. The object in Chamber 17 has been examined by experts. It is not a stasis pod. There is nothing alive inside it. You are seeing patterns that are not there because you are lonely and bored. Danny wanted to scream. Instead, he turned and walked away before he said something that would get him fired on the spot. That night, he sat in Chamber 17 with his back against Kyrathis' chamber. They think I am crazy, he said out loud. I am sorry, Kyrathis said. I should not have spoken to you. Now I have made your life difficult. No, Danny said firmly. I am glad you spoke. I am glad I know you are here. I just need to figure out how to prove it. For the next 3 days, Danny worked on a plan. He set up recording equipment in the chamber. He borrowed scanning tools from the supply room. He measured energy fluctuations around the egg. The readings were strange, but he did not know enough about Varath technology to understand what they meant. On the 4th day, Claire Martinez found him in Chamber 17. She was one of the other humans on the team, an engineer who mostly worked on keeping the camp's power systems running. So this is where you have been hiding, she said from the doorway. Kolthar thinks you have lost your mind. Danny looked up from his equipment. Maybe I have, or maybe I found something everyone else missed. Claire walked over and looked at his setup. She was quiet for a minute, studying the readouts on his scanner. These energy signatures are weird. Weird how? Danny asked. Weird like they should not be there. Claire knelt down next to the equipment. This object is supposed to be inert metal, right? But these readings show active power consumption. Very low level, but it is definitely there. Something inside this thing is using energy. Danny felt hope rise in his chest. Can you document that? Can you prove it? I can try. Claire looked at him seriously. But Danny, even if something is using power, that does not mean there is a living person in there. It could be old machinery still running. It could be a lot of things. I know how it sounds, Danny said. But I am telling you, there is someone alive in there. His name is Kyrathis. He is Varath. And he is dying. Claire was quiet for a long time. Then she said, Show me everything you have got. They worked together for 2 days. Claire brought better equipment. She took readings that Danny did not know were possible. She mapped the energy flow inside the chamber. She found thermal signatures that matched a living metabolism. This is not proof of a person, she said, but it is proof that something is definitely wrong with the official classification. This thing is not just decorative architecture. Will you help me? Danny asked. Claire looked at the chamber, then at Danny. My career will be over if we are wrong about this. I know. Kolthar already hates you. If we go over his head, he will hate both of us. I know. Claire sighed. My mom always said I had terrible judgment. Okay, I am in. What is the plan? Danny pulled out his tablet. We put together everything we have. Every reading, every anomaly, every piece of evidence. We sent it to Dr. Walsh at the Foundation headquarters. We skip Kolthar completely. That is against protocol, Claire said. So is leaving someone to die because you are too proud to admit you might have missed something, Danny replied. They worked through the night. By morning, they had a presentation that combined energy readings, thermal imaging, and structural analysis. It was not perfect, but it was enough to show that something was very wrong with the official reports about Chamber 17. Danny sent the file directly to Dr. Henry Walsh with a simple message. I have found something alive on Varath 9. It will die in less than 2 weeks if we do not act. Please come see for yourself." 3 days later, a priority shuttle landed at the camp. Dr. Walsh stepped out, followed by a tall alien with gray skin and too many eyes. Danny recognized the species, Thornex. They were council observers, the ones who enforced galactic law about artifacts and salvage rights. "Well," Claire said quietly, standing next to Danny as they watched the shuttle, "we definitely got someone's attention." "I just hope we got it in time," Danny said. In his mind, he felt Kyrathis' presence, weaker than before. 2 weeks had become 10 days. The chamber was failing, and Danny had just bet everything on convincing people who thought he was crazy. Dr. Henry Walsh was a short man with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. He shook Danny's hand firmly and then turned to Claire. "You two have caused quite a stir. I hope you understand the seriousness of what you are claiming." "We do, sir," Danny said. His mouth felt dry. The Thornex observer stepped forward. His name was Quillix, and he wore an official council sash across his chest. "I am here to ensure proper protocols are followed. If there is indeed a living being in this artifact, there are laws about how such discoveries must be handled." Kolthar appeared from the main building, walking fast. His scales looked darker than usual, which meant he was angry. "Dr. Walsh, I must protest this entire situation. These two went around proper channels. They have wasted your time with unfounded claims based on equipment readings they do not fully understand." "Then it should be easy enough to prove them wrong," Walsh said calmly. "Show me to this chamber." They walked to Chamber 17 in tense silence. Danny could feel Kolthar's anger like heat on his back. Claire walked close beside him, her face set and determined. When they entered the chamber, Walsh stopped and stared at the egg. He walked around it slowly, not speaking. Quillix pulled out a scanning device and began taking readings. "Tell me everything," Walsh said to Danny, "from the beginning." Danny told the story, finding the patterns, cleaning the surface, hearing the voice. He did not leave anything out, even the parts that made him sound crazy. When he finished, Walsh was still looking at the egg. "You say this being, Kyrathis, can only communicate with you?" Walsh asked. "Yes, sir. He says humans have brain patterns similar enough to the Varath that I can hear him. Other species cannot." Quillix made a sound like a snort. "Convenient. A voice that only one person can hear. No way to verify the claim." "The energy readings verify something," Claire said, stepping forward. "I have documented active power consumption, thermal signatures consistent with biological functions, and structural anomalies that do not match the official classification. This object is not inert." Quillix looked at her readings. "These could be explained by residual power cells, old technology still functioning. It does not prove a living being." "Then let us use better scanners," Walsh said. He looked at Quillix. "You brought the deep scan equipment, use it." For the next hour, they ran every test available. Danny stood to the side, feeling useless. In his mind, he could feel Kyrathis watching through his eyes, hoping. Finally, Quillix stepped back from his equipment. His expression was different now, surprised. "There is something alive in there." Kolthar's mouth opened, but no sound came out. "The biosignatures are faint but definite," Quillix continued. "Metabolic activity, neural patterns, respiratory function at minimal levels." He looked at Danny with new respect. "You were right." Danny felt relief wash over him. "Then we can get him out. We can save him." "It is not that simple," Quillix said. He tapped his scanning device. "According to Galactic Council regulations, this qualifies as a recovered life form from an abandoned world. The proper procedure is to transport the entire chamber to a council research facility where it can be opened safely under controlled conditions." "How long would that take?" Claire asked. 6 to 8 months, Quillix said. "We would need to arrange transport, prepare the facility, assemble the right team of experts." "He will be dead in 10 days, Danny said. His voice came out harder than he meant it to. "The chamber is failing. He has been barely alive for 3,000 years. He does not have 6 months." "That is unfortunate," Quillix said. "But regulations exist for good reasons. Opening an unknown stasis chamber without proper preparation could kill the occupant, or it could release pathogens, or cause structural collapse. The council facility has safeguards. The council facility has time, Danny shot back. Kyrathis does not. Walsh held up his hand. Everyone calm down, let me think. They stood in silence. Danny could hear his own heartbeat. In his mind, Kyrathis spoke quietly. It is all right, Danny, you tried. You gave me hope in my final days. That is more than I had before. No, Danny thought back fiercely. I am not giving up. Walsh turned to Claire. If we attempted to open this chamber here, could you do it? With the equipment we have available? Claire bit her lip. I would need Kyrathis to guide me. The technology is thousands of years old and completely alien to me. But if he can tell me how the systems work, then maybe I could do it. He can guide you through me, Danny said quickly. I can relay his instructions. Quillick stepped between them and the egg. This is highly irregular. I cannot authorize this. The being inside this chamber is now under council jurisdiction as a revived, extinct species. Moving forward without proper authorization would be illegal. The being inside this chamber is a person, Danny said. His name is Kyrathis. He is not property. He is not a specimen. He is someone who has been trapped and alone for 3,000 years, and he is dying. The law is the law, Quillick said. Then the law is wrong, Claire added. Walsh walked over to the egg and placed his hand on it, just like Danny had done that first day. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned to Quillick. I am making an executive decision. We open the chamber now. I will take full responsibility with the council. Dr. Walsh, I must strongly advise against this, Quillick said. Advise all you want, Walsh replied. But I am the ranking Foundation officer here, and this site is under Foundation jurisdiction until you file the proper paperwork to transfer authority. That paperwork takes at least 72 hours to process. We will be done by then. Quillick's skin turned a darker gray. The council will hear about this. I am counting on it, Walsh said. He turned to Danny and Claire. You two have 8 days to figure out how to open this chamber safely. I suggest you get started. That night, Danny sat in Chamber 17 with Claire and a pile of equipment. Kyrathis was weak, but he began explaining how the chamber worked. Danny repeated everything out loud so Claire could hear. The chamber has 3 layers, Kyrathis said, and Danny repeated. The outer shell is protective. The middle layer contains the stasis field generators. The inner layer is the pod itself where I am suspended. You must deactivate them in reverse order. If you do it wrong, the stasis field will collapse instantly and I will age 3,000 years in 3 seconds. Claire went pale. No pressure then. They worked through the night. Kyrathis described systems that had no equivalent in modern technology. Claire had to improvise, creating tools and methods on the spot. Danny served as the bridge between them, translating concepts that barely made sense even to him. By morning, they had a plan. It was dangerous and untested, but it was a plan. Kolthar watched from the doorway. He had not said a word since the scans proved Danny right. Now he spoke quietly. If this goes wrong, that being will die. His death will be on your hands. If we do nothing, he dies anyway, Danny said. At least this way he has a chance. At least he knows someone tried. Kolthar nodded slowly and walked away. Claire looked at Danny. Ready to save a life? Danny thought of Kyrathis, alone in the dark for 3 millennia. More than ready. Let us bring him home. The next 3 days blurred together into one long stretch of work. Claire barely slept. Danny ran on coffee and nervous energy. Kyrathis guided them through every step, his mental voice growing weaker each day. Dr. Walsh brought in additional equipment from the supply shuttle. He also brought in Dr. Linda Grant, a medical specialist who had experience with alien biology. She set up a treatment area next to the chamber, ready for whatever condition Kyrathis would be in when they finally got him out. Quillick watched everything with disapproving eyes. He filed reports constantly, sending updates back to the council. But he did not try to stop them. Walsh had been right about the paperwork. They had a small window of time before the council could legally take over. On the fourth day, Claire announced they were ready. I have mapped out the entire shutdown sequence. Kyrathis has walked me through it 5 times.
I think we can do this.
You think? Quillick said from the corner of the room. You are attempting to revive a being who has been in stasis for 3,000 years, and you think you can do it? Do you have a better option that does not involve him dying? Claire shot back. Quillick said nothing. Walsh gathered everyone in Chamber 17. The whole camp was there. Even Kolthar came, standing in the back with his arms crossed. The Zenthi workers crowded near the doorway, their 6 legs clicking nervously on the stone floor. Before we begin, Walsh said, I want everyone to understand what we are doing here. This is not about finding an artifact. This is not about scientific discovery. This is about saving a life. If we succeed, we will have brought back a member of a civilization that the galaxy thought was lost forever. If we fail, we will have tried our best to do the right thing. Either way, what happens in this room today matters. He looked at Danny. Are you ready? Danny closed his eyes and reached out with his mind. Kyrathis, are you ready? I have been ready for 3,000 years, Kyrathis replied. His voice was barely a whisper now. Whatever happens, thank you, Danny. Thank you for hearing me. Save your strength, Danny thought back. We are going to get you out of there. Claire positioned herself at the control panel she had built. It was connected to the chamber through a dozen cables, each one carefully placed according to Kyrathis's instructions. Her hands shook slightly as she powered up the system. Starting the sequence, she announced. Step 1, reducing outer shell integrity to 0.7. Danny felt Kyrathis tense. Through their connection, he could sense what the dragon was feeling. 3,000 years of silence and darkness, and now finally, possibly, an end to it. Fear and hope mixed together until they were the same thing. Outer shell is responding, Claire said. Moving to step 2, adjusting stasis field resonance. The chamber began to hum. It was a low sound, felt more than heard. The crystalline patterns on the surface started to glow faintly, blue light pulsing along the rivers of crystal. Linda stood ready with her medical equipment. Her face was calm, professional. Vital signs monitoring is active. I am picking up a heartbeat. Very slow, maybe 2 beats per minute, but it is there. Step 3, Claire said. Her voice was steady now, focused. Initiating power transfer from chamber reserves to external source. This was the dangerous part. If the power transfer failed, the stasis field would collapse. Kyrathis would die before they could even see him. The lights in the chamber flickered. The humming grew louder. Danny held his breath. Transfer complete, Claire said, relief clear in her voice. The chamber is running on our power now. Step 4, beginning field dissolution. This is going to take 20 minutes. 20 minutes felt like 20 hours. Danny watched the blue light grow brighter and brighter. He could feel Kyrathis becoming more aware, more present. The mental connection grew stronger. I can feel the field fading, Kyrathis said. I can feel my body again. It has been so long since I felt anything. Just hold on, Danny thought. Almost there. The chamber started to split along seams that had been invisible before. Claire monitored her controls, making tiny adjustments as the ancient technology responded. Wisps of cold vapor began to leak from the growing cracks. Field is at 20%, Claire announced. 15. 10. Heartbeat increasing, Linda said. Up to 5 beats per minute. Respiratory activity detected. 5%, Claire said. 3. 2. Field dissolution complete. The chamber opened. The 2 halves pulled apart smoothly, revealing the interior. Kyrathis lay inside. He was magnificent. Even weak and barely conscious, he was the most beautiful thing Danny had ever seen. His body was long and serpentine, covered in scales that shimmered with inner light. They were crystalline, like the patterns on the chamber, shifting through shades of blue and silver. His head was elegant, shaped like Earth's dragons from old stories, but more refined, more real. His eyes were closed, but Danny could see intelligence in every line of his face. 4 wings lay folded against his body, translucent membranes stretched between delicate bones. His claws were retracted, but Danny could see they were sharp and carefully maintained even in stasis. "Beautiful," Claire whispered. Linda moved forward immediately with her scanners. "He is alive, weak, but alive. I need to get fluids into him right away. His body has been running on minimal power for millennia." She worked quickly, setting up tubes and monitors. Kyrathis did not move. His breathing was shallow, his heartbeat slow. "Kyrathis?" Danny said out loud. "Can you hear me?" The dragon's eyes opened. They were gold, bright even in his weakened state. They found Danny immediately. "I hear you," Kyrathis said. This time his voice was not just in Danny's head. It came from the dragon's throat, rough from disuse but real. "I see you. After so long in darkness, I see you." The chamber erupted in cheers. Even Kolthar looked pleased, though he tried to hide it. The Zenthi workers chattered excitedly to each other, but Quilix stepped forward, his official sash gleaming. "This is a historic moment. However, we must now address the legal status of this being. As a revived member of an extinct species from an abandoned world, Kyrathis falls under council jurisdiction. He will need to be transported to a council facility for proper evaluation and integration assistance." "No," Kyrathis said. His voice was stronger now. Everyone in the chamber went silent. Kyrathis lifted his head slowly, struggling with muscles that had not moved in 3,000 years. Linda tried to help him, but he waved her away gently with one wing. "I am not property," Kyrathis said, looking directly at Quilix. "I am not a specimen to be studied. I am Kyrathis, son of Velmar, keeper of the Third Archive, and I claim my rights as a sentient being under the Treaty of Voices." Quilix's eyes widened. "The Treaty of Voices has not been invoked in over 1,000 years." "But it still stands," Kyrathis said. "I studied galactic law before my people went into stasis. The treaty guarantees the rights of any awakened being to choose their own path. I choose to remain here, on my homeworld, with those who saved me." He turned his golden eyes to Danny. "In my culture, there is a sacred bond. When someone saves a life from the long sleep, they become family. Not by blood, but by choice. Danny Cooper, you heard me when no one else could. You risked your career, your reputation, everything to save a stranger. By the old laws of my people, I claim you as kin." Danny felt tears on his face. "I accept," he said, not sure of the right words, but knowing they were true. Kyrathis looked at Claire. "And you, Claire Martinez, you made the impossible possible. Your hands brought me back to the world. I claim you as kin as well." Claire wiped her eyes. "I accept," she said, her voice shaking. "This is highly irregular," Quilix protested, but his voice had lost its edge. "The council will need to review this claim." "Let them review," Walsh said. He was smiling. "But while they do, Kyrathis stays here as a free being, not a specimen. That is my ruling as the senior Foundation officer on site." Kyrathis settled back down, exhausted from the effort of speaking. Linda immediately resumed her work, checking his vital signs and adjusting the fluid drip. "You need to rest," she told him. "Your body has been through an incredible trauma. Recovery will take time." "I have had enough of resting," Kyrathis said, but his eyes were already closing. "I have slept for 3,000 years, but I will rest now, knowing I am not alone." Over the next week, Kyrathis grew stronger. His scales regained their full shimmer. His wings unfolded properly, revealing patterns like stained glass. He could walk, then stand fully upright, his head nearly touching the chamber ceiling. And he talked. He told them about his world as it had been. The Varath had not been warriors or conquerors. They had been artists and philosophers, building cities that floated on the wind and libraries that held the wisdom of 100 worlds. "We believed in harmony," Kyrathis said one evening as Danny sat with him. We thought that knowledge and beauty could solve any problem. We were wrong. When the plague came, created by those who hated us for our differences, we had no weapons to fight back, only our chambers, only hope that we could outlast the hatred. But you did, Danny said. You survived. One of me survived, Kyrathis corrected gently. But I am not alone. There are 46 others, Danny. 46 more chambers hidden across this world. My people, my friends, my family. They sleep still, waiting. Danny sat up straight. You know where they are? Every Varath knew the locations. It was programmed into us before we slept, in case we woke and needed to find each other. Kyrathis stood, stretching his wings. I can take you to them. We can bring them all home. The next morning, Danny presented the information to Walsh. Within hours, teams were being organized. Kyrathis guided them to the first hidden chamber, located beneath what everyone had thought was a collapsed tower. It was another egg, identical to the first. Claire supervised the revival process. This time they knew what to do. This time it took only 6 hours instead of days. When the chamber opened, a female Varath emerged. Her scales were green and gold. Her name was Sarath, and she cried when she saw Kyrathis alive. Brother, she said, using the term for clanmate rather than blood relation. You found us. You brought us back. Not I, Kyrathis said, gesturing to Danny with one wing. A human heard me when no one else could. Humans saved us. One by one, over the next 3 weeks, they opened all 47 chambers. Each Varath who emerged brought new stories, new knowledge, new perspectives. Some were scientists, some were artists. One had been a teacher of younglings. Another had been a ship captain who had traveled to distant stars. The galaxy watched. News crews from a dozen worlds descended on Varath 9. The story of the last dragons, saved by a human who refused to stop listening, spread across every network. The Galactic Council sent representatives. They tried to impose regulations to control the process, but Kyrathis invoked the Treaty of Voices for each of his people. By the time all 47 were awake, the Council had no choice but to recognize them as free beings with full rights. The Varath did not try to reclaim their world as it had been. They knew too much time had passed for that. Instead, they chose to join the modern galaxy, to share what they knew and learn what they had missed. Kyrathis became their unofficial leader, the one who spoke for them in galactic forums. But he never forgot who had saved him. He wore a small crystal around his neck, a gift from Danny, and called the human his brother in every official gathering. Danny and Claire both received commendations from the Foundation. Claire was offered a position designing revival protocols for other potential stasis situations across the galaxy. She accepted, on the condition that she could work from Varath 9. Danny was offered a teaching position at the Foundation's main academy. He turned it down. Instead, he stayed on Varath 9, working with the Varath to document their history and help them adjust to the new era. 6 months after the first revival, the Varath held a ceremony. All 47 gathered in the largest chamber, now restored and decorated with flowing crystals that caught the light. They invited humans from across the Foundation, along with representatives from other species who had helped. Kyrathis stood at the center with Danny beside him. 3,000 years ago, my people went to sleep in despair, he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. We thought the galaxy had no place for those who chose peace over power. We were wrong. The galaxy changed. It grew. It learned. He placed one clawed hand on Danny's shoulder. This human, and others like him, proved that the greatest strength is not in weapons or force. It is in the willingness to listen, to hear voices that others ignore, to see value where others see only emptiness. Kyrathis looked around at his people, at the assembled crowds, at the cameras broadcasting to billions across the stars. We, Varath, have been given a second chance, not to rebuild what was, but to build what can be. We will share our knowledge freely. We will learn from this new galaxy. We will prove that some things are worth the wait." He turned back to Danny. "You asked me once what my people valued most. I will tell you now. We valued connection, the bonds between souls that transcend species, time, and circumstance. You gave that back to us, Danny Cooper. You gave us family." The ceremony ended with music, Verath instruments that had been silent for millennia playing alongside human guitars and alien harmonics. Danny stood with Claire watching Kyrathis dance in the air, his wings catching the light. "We did something good," Claire said quietly. "We listened," Danny replied. "Sometimes that is all it takes." Above them, Kyrathis spun through the air with his kin, free at last, home at last, and grateful to a human who had refused to walk past a voice in the dark.